All right, we have got ourselves a user-submitted replay here. And this is a very interesting game. I went ahead and reviewed it before recording this video, and we'll get into why it's interesting as I go through it. One thing I want to say before getting into this replay is I've been asked to try and include more of the chats that go on during a game. And I think what I'm going to try doing is when something interesting happens, I'm going to look for that I think is kind of strange and doesn't make much sense. I'm going to look for where the whatever it is that interesting happened in the timeline and go to the chats around there and see what was influencing what. And I'll try to talk about that as I can. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. So 1-5 gets a blue, plays a blue. I think it's perfectly reasonable as Hitler to do that. 2 ditches. So we have a negative. This is a normal deck state currently. It's 2 blues out of 2 govs. But we were missing a blue already, so we're probably going to see a 4 blue deck. Okay, so here's a good point. They actually yaw 3 here. Now, this gets 3 9s. 1 fascist 9s, another fascist, 2 liberals 9, and 5 yaws. That's very strange. So this is a good starting point for this new policy, I guess, of mine. Let's go to where is it even higher? Have I not got enough? Let's see if I can find it. There's 1 5. I think I'm missing some chats. Let's see if I can get it to load. It's supposed to have more than this. There we go. Okay, so here's 3 7. And you can see that 2 6 happens right around the same time 3 7 happens. It wasn't a whole lot of time in between. The only thing we have here is Invest says yeah. Golden Panda says I agree. So, I guess the only thing I'm going to say here is this is kind of a decent strategy in higher elo games if you're in seat 5 as Hitler to try and un-Hitler yourself, to confirm yourself as not Hitler. A decent elo person is going to see 5 yawing and say, well, that's suspicious, right? I think they're probably fascists saying that, but that they're not Hitler doing it. Because it's pretty, it's unrealistic for Hitler to like 3 out of turn or to think 3 is on his team. The only real motivation I can come up with off the top of my head for 5 wanting this yaw is that he wants to take invest for himself. But if you're Hitler in seat 5, I think it's better for you to go ahead and not take invest. I think after you see 2 6 play a blue, you can probably safely conflict 1, and it'll be confusing for people, but at that point, I don't know. That's just a better play, in my opinion. I don't think that playing for invest is a good strategy as Hitler. So, anyway, let's continue on. So 3 gets 3 reds. So now we're at a -1 deck state. Let's see what happens. 5 gets 3 reds as well. Okay, so now we're at a -2 deck state. And you see he gets 3 reds and he claims 3 reds. He doesn't even claim conflict on Inv. First off, I think 3 should conflict 7. There's no reason not to. 7's just a liberal who 9'd as well. So it makes a lot of sense to conflict him at that point, to say, hey, we're not on the same team. And also, it keeps the deck states relatively normal. Now you're at a -2 deck state, and Hitler has taken Inv. And what's he done? He's Inv'd 1 as liberal. Okay, so that's not great. It's okay that he's Inv'd 1 liberal here. I think that's a good play because you're tying 1 to yourself, and if liberals in 4, 6, 7 are going to be suspicious of anyone, they're going to be suspicious of you first, but they're also going to be suspicious of 1. And you're kind of buying 1 for that, in a way. So anyway, 6-2 gets 9. That's kind of a weird point. Let's see why that gets 9. That's a good point. Okay, so there's 3-7. 5-1 gets red, red, red. Okay, so Raven is seat 6, and Raven says 1-6 instead of yawing themselves. There's really no reason to 9 yourself here. Raven played a blue before 3 gave red, red, red to 7. That makes them every bit as liberal as 5, and now more liberal than 5 because 5 just played red, red, red and took him on a really low blue deck state. So I think that's a bad play. If you're in seat 6, especially if you're in seat 6 as a liberal, like just because she says 1-6 doesn't mean 1's going to pick 6. 1's probably going to pick in 3-4 because that's what people do. And you're just giving up your own government for no reason. And you, as a liberal, you should want as much information as possible, and you get more information the more cards you see. Now, that sounds kind of hypocritical given that I'm a supporter of the 1-2-5-6 meta, right? But at the same time, it's just a mathematical reason why we do that. Anyway, I don't want to get into the explanation there. So again, if you want a deeper understanding into why I say what I do regarding 1-2-5-6, but also think that you should, as a liberal, want as much information as possible, feel free to ask me in the comment section. 4 yaws, that's kind of strange. He's probably getting himself some suspicion lobbed onto him. But at the same time, it's perfectly reasonable. Oh, okay, so this is great. Before I move on to the hand, it's perfectly reasonable if you're in seat 4 to be suspicious of 1, because it's a -2 deck state. It's a 2 blue deck after 4 governments have passed. 1, 2, 3, 5 are the presidents on that deck, and you really shouldn't be trusting 1. In fact, after this blue, blue, blue claim, I'd be pretty suspicious of 1, 2, 5 as the fascist team. The reason for that is because it's too convenient, right? Yet sure, they play a blue here. But now suddenly it's a 5 blue deck, right? And it's all legitimate. 1's a liberal. But it's just way too convenient for fascists, if 1, 2, 5 are the fascist team, that now suddenly you have a 5 blue deck out of nowhere. So I'd be pretty suspicious of 1, 2, 5, and I bet you if I went and really combed through the chats, that it probably is a similar thing being said. By the way, if you guys think I should include links to the replays in the description, I absolutely can do that if you want. Obviously, the recording won't have it because it's up here in the URL, but I can actually add those if you guys want. So just DM me about that if you want, or of course comment on YouTube. So anyway, okay, so 2-5 gets yawed. That's really strange, actually. So 5 is, even though it's a 5 blue deck, I don't like that play. I think that you shouldn't be mixing govs. I think 2 should pick 6 if they're liberal. Obviously, they're fascist. They can pick whoever they want. But as a fascist as well, I want to point out, like, you're just term locking Hitler for fascist. Now, this can be okay? Term locking your Hitler like this will further CNH him, because my own logic will go towards making 5 look less like Hitler. Like, why would a fascist in C2 term lock their own Hitler? And it will make everyone else, by comparison, like everyone in 3, 4, 6, 7, look more like Hitler. But at the same time, you're playing for the win, and it seems like you've got the trust of everybody in C2, and 5 has trust as well. You might as well pick 6, then SC1, and have 1 pick, and try to get 1 to pick 5, you know? That's just the play I would make here. And so I don't agree with this pick, personally. But there are good things about it. Oh, and he gets red, red, red anyway. So this is actually a pretty bad situation for fascists. You have to SC a liberal here. Hitler's term locked. They're probably going to go blue down here. Oh. Okay, so this is just about as bad a situation as you could hope for if you were liberal. So in seat 1, you're a liberal, getting 3 blues twice in a row like this. It completely absolves 3 and 5 for their red, red, reds. And it absolves 2 now of his red, red, red right before you. because now you got all 3 blues that were left in the deck. And so this is the worst. You play this blue here, that's great, but now in the remaining 6 cards, they're all red, and you cannot play a single Gov and reshuffle the deck. So what that means is you have to top deck at least one of those reds out, and then presuming that you get Yod again in seat 1, you're going to have to shoot somebody. And you have to hope that that shot is indeed a fascist. And the way this game went down, there's really no way to know who to shoot. Okay, you can't immediately shoot 5, even though you took him. You can't shoot 3, you can't shoot 2, you can't shoot 4, you can't shoot 6, and you can't shoot 7. I would say your best shots are probably in 4-7, maybe. And you kind of have to hope that the 2 people that didn't touch a 5 blue deck, or that one of them is fascist. Also, yeah, this I should have mentioned this. 4 and 7, 9, 1, 3. Now, these 9s are so liberal to me, right? I would read these 9s as liberal. Because to me, if you're outside of 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, you really should be skeptical of 1, 2, and 5. Well, really just, 1, 2, and 5. And the reason 1, 2 is because of the blue, blue, blue. Because if it's too fascist, they can overclaim it to blue, blue, blue on red, red, blue. Like, it could have been a 3 blue deck. Remember that 2 got red, blue, blue, and ditched. And despite that, it still is a 5 blue deck. So, it's pretty crazy how all of this goes down. I would say liberals are pretty darn unlucky with the card draw. So, anyway, let's go ahead and see what happens from here. I think that, it looks like they've decided to top deck to 1. I'm hoping it's to 1. If it's not, okay, good. So 1-3 plays again. He, of course, gets red or red, and who does he shoot? He shoots 4. So I'm just going to click Show Chats, and then we're going to look and see if there was anything chat-based that gives us a hint as to why he shoots 3. Okay, so here's where he gets the red, red, red. Let's look afterwards. There's probably a lot of chat before that, which is talking about how after he gets the blue, 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 they discuss, like, oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to win this game? So, let's see what we got here. It's guaranteed 4 is fast right after he gets the red, red, red. No lines is 4 lib. It would have to be 2, 4, 6, but 2 didn't conflict 5. So he's putting stock into the fact that 2, 5 was red, red, red. I wouldn't do that personally. You know once you get blue, blue, blue that he got legit red, red, red. So usually what I've seen, fascists will claim red, red, red if they can on the second deck and get away with it like that. It's just more beneficial because you give away less information at the most important part of the game. However, fascists will conflict from time to time if they get the blue, so that they don't get shot. And specifically, I would think that would make 2 Hitler. 2 is a good Hitler candidate if 2-5 conflicts, because 2 looks like a Hitler trying not to get shot. Or 1-5 is lib-lib. That's the other thing I would say. 1-5 looks lib-lib if 2 is fascist, conflicting 5, so that he doesn't have to SC1. But at the end of the day, he still has to SC1. There's no way anybody's going to trust anybody else that 2 SEs. So, anyway, let's continue. Random nobody gives any real information. It doesn't look like. He has less of reason to 9, 1, 3 than 7. That's actually not true. Both 4 and 7 are equal. Neither of them touch the deck. In fact, it's very strange to me, I should say this now, that 3-7 got Yod by 4 people, specifically. 2, 4, 7 were the 9s. And then 4, 5 is 9. Usually if 3 is going to get Yod, 4 is also going to get Yod. You're going to play as many people as you can. So 4 has no information. Yeah, that's pretty bad logic. Kind of want 3-2. Yeah, at this point it looks like 1 is just siding with the fascist. Did he shoot already? Looks like this is after the shot. Doesn't matter. All right, well, yeah, the next gov is Hitler getting elected. So anyway, So, could liberals have won this game? I think it's pretty hard. The deck state really didn't help liberals at all. It also doesn't help that one is suspicious of four for bad reasons. There's nothing concrete. There's nothing concrete you can say in this game. Like, five didn't conflict you, right? And two didn't conflict five. Those are concrete things you can say that don't really give you actual information. So, at the end of the day, we just have a liberal siding with fascist, and that's the end of the game. I think six should themselves in 6-2 and be the person. Like, then you can then you can say one looks liberal. Like, that actually makes one more liberal because six now is the one that's overclaiming, quote unquote, to help one out. And it can't be 6-2 both overclaiming to blue to help one and five as two fascists, right? Because that's too many fascists. That'd be four fascists. So they'd have to only be helping out five. And that's also good for liberals because then five becomes more suspicious and one becomes almost completely, like, practically confirmed liberal. So the only way they can be fascist is if it's all legitimate, which it was legitimate, and they're fascist with five. So anyway, that's my thoughts on this game. If you have any questions, link me down below, and I will see you guys later.